Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer some information on Valentine's Day, and then we'll do some card pulls at the end of this video. One thing, there are some topics in here that I want to expand on, so I'm only going to touch on them today because you have better things to do on Valentine's Day than watch a video on here. And if you happen to be single on Valentine's Day, there's a lot of information in my channel or other people's channels you can check out just so you have something to do. But there will be some things I just kind of skim over because we're not making too long of a video today. Valentine's Day is the day for loving couples, all this cute stuff. And if you are like how I was raised, back in the day when you were in elementary school, you would take that shoebox and you'd decorate it all up and you'd cut the little rectangular hole in the top, and you always had it on your desk on Valentine's Day, either Friday before or the Monday after, whichever, however fell. And you would hand out your little Valentine's cards. Sometimes they're little candies that you'd add to them. And you know, that very first crush, you always had to give something with chocolate to. So there's a few things that we used to do. Yeah, I'm dating myself a little bit, but that used to be what you think Valentine's Day is. It was, you know, cute little cards and chocolate and candies, especially those little like Nico ones that were one step away from writing chalk. And they always had like cute little messages on them. And so that's kind of what you think about when you think about Valentine's Day when you're younger. As you get older, it's more of a roses and chocolate and champagne and popping the question and dropping rings and champagne flutes and hopefully I don't choke on it. There's things like that that you think about as you get older. But where did this holiday even come from? And I will have to say, in the most of the research that I've done on this holiday, like I said, I want to do a bigger project later, but it's really not a pagan influence one. This is not one that comes from like the church overlaid another holiday. This one is pretty much a church derived one. When I say the church, I'm talking about the Catholics back in the day. So there is a clue as to where this comes from, and that is the other name for Valentine's Day, which is the Feast of Saint Valentine. So legend has it, and there are so many variations that's why I want to do a longer version of this later, specifically on St. Valentine's, that we don't know exactly what's the real story. We do know that it was around midway through the 250 AD, somewhere in there, 3rd century, whatever you want to call it. We know that the original St. Valentine was there. That's as far back as we go. But what he did versus the later iterations of St. Valentine, the different people also that were Valentine, it gets a little confusing. There's a lot there. So we'll just do the basics for today. One of the legends says that he was in jail in the 3rd century, which that's kind of a collaborative thing with all of the different stories for the very first one. What he did while he was in there is the question. One version says that while he was in there, and this is what made him so famous, was he healed the jailer's daughter of a malady that she had. There was another one that said he was writing to the jailer's daughter and always signed the letter, yours truly Valentine, or something along those lines, which would be even more interesting because as a jailer's daughter in that time, was she really literate? Just that time period wasn't known for its high literacy rate, let's just say that. Then the other part was the reason that he happened to be in jail was because he was officiating marriages for the pagan Roman soldiers when Rome would say they weren't allowed to get married. So he was basically saying, I'll marry you under a Christian banner, which Christianity was still a baby at that time. I'm not even sure if they used that term. But he would marry them under the banner of Jesus, we'll say that, versus the Roman side. And the Roman authorities did not like that in the slightest, so off to the Hooskow he went. So that's kind of the basics. We're talking like mid-3rd century, so, you know, quite a ways ago. And were these stories embellished to bring in a lovey-dovey holiday? Quite possibly. That was, you know, 1700 years ago, so who knows the full story. Like I said, I do want to dig into this deeper later on. But Saint Valentine was originally a real person. There's actually many of them between the 3rd century and around the 8th or 9th century. There's at least 3 different versions of the human that I found, so we'll have to look into that. But we'll hop into this modern day part. The 14th day of February, kind of where they locked it into this date, really didn't start showing up until around the 8th century. There might be a few points before that, but really kind of solidifying it at that date was around the 8th century. And thankfully, having it locked down allowed for people to start embellishing it. So around the 14th to 15th centuries, we started to get into this more romantic aspect of the holiday. Because prior to that, it was more of, it was a saint's celebration. So there were certain rituals, especially with the Catholic Church, that you would have to do. The Anglican Church had some, and later down the road, the Lutheran Church had specific ones too. So you have this, and the Orthodox Church, sorry. You have quite a few different variations, but all associated with this time period, or with this St. Valentine's Day. Because one thing, the holiday moves around depending on which group. The Catholics have the Saints holiday on the 14th of February. There's one that's in July. There's another one that's, I want to say, in August. So like I said, we'll deal with that later. But it was in this 14th to 15th century that the concept of courting love became more vogue. It was less about going to the father asking for the hand in marriage. Dowries were still a thing, but it was more about a romantic interest, less of a political or social connection. Because there was a time period in our history, of the Western history, where you got married because it was a way to move up. It was a political statement. It was a social statement. It had almost nothing to do with romance and love like we see today. So that really started to make a change around that 14th, 15th century in England. And so they started to attach this holiday to that type of romance. And it was a good time, in certain histories they would say this was the time where the birds were starting to show back up, and you would give each other things like confections, little candies and sweets, and cakes and pastries, because those were a rarity even back in that time period. The wealthy had them, but the everyday person, it was special events, and this was a way to celebrate your spouse or to start dating, or things like that. And it was, flowers were another one, because you'd get flowers starting to bloom around this time in some parts of the world, and giving each other tokens of affection, little brooch pins and hats and things like that the ladies would make, and the men would find the right necklace or whatever. So you'd give these romantic signs to each other at this time period. And it's really not that different today. Flowers, little sweets, chocolate primarily, and love notes, of course. And those little love notes became an entirely different creature altogether, thanks to our greeting card obsessed world. And how many packages? Think about this. Think back to when you were a kid, if your parents participated in this particular chaos. How many packages of those cards with had 8, 12, or some of them had 24 packs, which were awesome. How many packs of those cards did your mom and dad have to get for you? And you sat down with your parents and you signed all the cards to the different kids in your class, and then you had to hand all those things out, and how many did you get, and whose feelings got hurt? When you think about it, there was a lot of that stuff that went on just in the last few years, probably the last 5 years or so. It's not been as common, but before that, go back to the 80s and 90s, this was a big thing. And think about it, going back even further, you gave your romantic partner a love note that you would hand write, and then the greeting card companies got a hold of it, so you can just go buy your card. But these are all things that were very, very common starting around the 14th, 15th century. It's just become massively more commercialized since then. But the original theme was showing affection for your partner, and it's one of those things that you want to keep going with the modern day. And eventually, through time, you started seeing more and more, or starting in the 14th, 15th century, the colors started to anchor down in, so we had the reds and the pinks. You had a lot of hearts starting to show up because those were symbols of love and romance. You also had the doves and the lovebirds and things like that showing up because those are peaceful things, they're bonding for life things. So you have different associations, adding into the mix as you went forward. And eventually, they chose a cute little cherub to represent Cupid. Now, if you know where the source of cherub comes from, it's actually the cherubim, which is a choir of angels. And let's just say they did a humongous lie on what a cherub is with Valentine's Day. Because I've done a video on the cherubim, the seraphim, and some of the different angel choirs, so I might link that in the description. Cupid was far from a fat little baby with wings. If you go back to the Greek lore about him, that was not the case. So, the concept of the cherub and Cupid, I've already done videos on cherubim. I do want to do one on Cupid as a demigod because it's not what you think. And that's kind of the basics. So that gives us our superficial, our commercialized version of Valentine's Day. Like I said, there's a lot more to the concept of Saint Valentine, but I want to actually do a dedicated video to him, and it may have nothing to do with this holiday, just because that particular saint, or the 3 or 4 of them, has some interesting lore associated. So look out for the future. This, like I said, this is a quick introduction. You have better things to do than listen to some random YouTuber. So let's take a peek, just a little Valentine's update on romance, and see what energies are coming in for the elements for Valentine's Day. And if you're single, you can take these messages. If you're in a relationship, it's how it shows up for you is how we will do these. We're going to look at a crystal to kind of get a vibe for what kind of energy is supporting you. We'll look at a Whispers of Love oracle, which is seeing where you're at in your personal love life or your connected love life, and then something to be grateful for at the end. So if you're interested, we'll get started with that. Fire covers the zodiac signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So fire, let's see. You are starting off with the card of Aura Quartz, and your Ascended Master, Mary Magdalene. So you're coming into some divine alchemy, the union of opposites. That could be fun for fire. And with perfect trust, you surrender to the process of radical transformation, allowing your soul to express itself in an entirely new way. In complete faith, you recognize unlimited healing powers and creative genius of the divine within your own heart. In the mind of the divine, there are only possibilities and the grace needed to attain the heart's higher purpose. You commit to the evolution of your consciousness with joyful confidence in the reality being birthed through your soul at this time. You live in the realization that you are loved intimately and tenderly by the divine. Fire. There's this energy that's coming in here of could be a pregnancy happening. There could be a new relationship if you're single. There's a lot of fertile potential, we'll call it that, coming in right now. And with Mary Magdalene, it's actually more about being open with your heart, being open with your attraction. It's not, you don't have to hide from your the way who you love and how you love. Those are things that are important, consenting adults, do what you need to do. And that's what they're saying, is you don't have to be ashamed of that. That's part of you as a whole, fire. So embrace that and allow Source to lead you forward with that path. And your love card is slow down, pause, and allow things to unfold. If you're in a relationship, take time with your partner. Take time to really enjoy their company. If you have quiet music playing in the background, fine, but just enjoy each other. You don't have to, we have to turn the TV on, we have to have noise, we have to have all this nonsense. Take the time to really embrace your unique partnership. If you happen to be single, maybe it's time to slow down and really understand how much of an awesome person you are. That way, when you start to go outside and you start to get into the dating world again, you realize what you can bring, what your special talents are, what would draw a person to you. So this is really saying, get back to the quietness of life. The chaos, the rushing, we miss things, you don't observe things, we never acknowledge things when we're rushing around. So take the time to really embrace that quietness and embrace that peace that comes with that. So your thing to be grateful for is the adventure of life. 52. Fire, you always are going to be the most adventurous, the most passionate, the most loud out. scream from the rooftops type romance anyway. And this is saying enjoy the adventure of life. If you're in a relationship, have fun with that. Really get in tune with your partner. Again, that ties into the slow down part, because when you slow down, you actually understand each other better. But also, don't let things become boring. Find ways to keep your spark alive in your relationship. Keep that excitement going, fire, because it's really going to be important for you just overall in general. But in this upcoming year, there's this call for a deeper bonding with partner and with your spirit. So that's where this is coming in. And if you happen to be single and the term adventure doesn't mean much to you, it does, because the adventure is finding the right person. You're going out, you're exploring, you're doing all the things, you're trying to figure out A, who you are, but also B, who's going to connect with you. Because you might, and when you open the door to spirit, fire, this is just overall, when you open the door to spirit and you say, I don't know, I've done these things, nothing's been working for me, show me what I should be doing, and invite this person into my life if you're single. Don't be surprised when source is like, you think so? Okay, you asked for this. And it's always an adventure when that stuff happens. So let's hop into our Earth family, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So Earth, we are looking at the the Archangel Metatron and Clear Quartz, which is the energy of power. You embrace the opportunity to explore a healthy relationship to personal power and each other, let's be real here. This supports your spiritual journey to fulfill your destiny for the benefit of all beings. You choose to express your power in a way that is respectful, merciful, and kind towards yourself and all others. You utilize your growing power to awaken your boldness and confidence. You recognize the inevitability of your divine fulfillment. Earth, if you're single, this is saying you have a lot of things you can offer to others. You're the only one like you. We'll just say that. And that's a good thing, because when you meet the right person, they're not going to want anyone but you. And that's the purpose of dating, is to find the one who wants you for who you are, and you want them for who they are. There's not a bunch of, I can fix them or I can change them. No, if you're doing that, you're totally going the wrong direction with the whole relationship. If you're starting off like that, no. But the other part of this is with you working with Metatron, this is bringing in this energy of a divine connection. It's not just you're out there partying to party. Earth singles, you're wanting a relationship. And if you work with Archangel Metatron, you're going to find that spiritual connection. And the beauty of that energy is, I'm hearing, if you're in a relationship, this is saying these are the energies that show you are with the right person. You're in the bonded connection, and this means you have a long-term association, so you're in the right place. Either way, singles or couples, you're definitely going to have a spiritually deep relationship. And if not right now, maybe working with Archangel Metatron, asking God's Source to help deepen that. Even having quartz crystal tossed around the bedroom is a way to really amplify that energy for you. Your love oracle is number 44, so power number right there. And we have get to know each other, learn to meet another's need for love. Singles, don't be too selfish. You want to know about the other person, they should want to know about you, so you're sharing and reciprocating information and connection. In a relationship, there's no such thing as mine or your partner's, it's ours. And this is where when you start to give, you receive. When you receive, you give. So you build this energy of bonding together, getting to know each other. That's why in a lot of my readings for relationships, especially couples, I'll say drop the kids off at grandma and grandpa's house, spend the weekend together. You don't have to have the TV on, or if it is, it's background noise. But do things that bond you. Have a quiet dinner together. Go to the place where you first met, the first date energy. If you're long-term relationship and you kind of been there, done that, do things where you can bond in a physical and spiritual way. The origins of the Kama Sutra, not that new fancy weird stuff. Go back to the origins of it, because it's not just about what different poses. It is a spiritual bonding. And when you do that with this get to know each other energy, you realize that the act of making love is really about bonding soul to soul, and it brings you to a different state. So this energy for the couples is really intense. in this gentle way. And for the singles, it's saying this is what you have to look forward to. So make sure you're working with Source on your partnership in that respect, because it's definitely heading in the right direction. We'll just say that. And your gratitude is the number 11. Earth, you have some interesting power numbers here, 44 and 11. So check out what those mean. You have the energy of intention. When you set the intention for gratitude, it means you appreciate everything in life. It doesn't matter how simple, it doesn't matter how fancy, how rich, how beautiful, how mundane. When you set the intention of gratitude, you allow yourself to be in the flow state. The intention that you want to set is, I want to find, if you're single, the love of my life who understands my spiritual path, and we can grow together, learning and educating each other, bringing God's source into everything that we do. If you are in a relationship, the intention should be, how can I help my partner? And your partner should be, how can I help my partner? So you're working in this energy of constantly giving, constantly receiving, showing appreciation, showing help, setting the intention for spiritual growth and balance within the relationship. So Earth, you probably have one of the best readings that I've had for relationships in a while, I will say that. And it's such a gentle feeling. There's not a lot of aggression here. I might come across that way, but the energy is super gentle. It's this, if you've ever held like a puppy when they're really tiny, they want to snuggle, they want to hold, they want to be held. That's the energy this is where it's just, you want to be held and gently cuddled for this holiday. So hopefully that works out for you and you get to have that. Let's move over to our air family, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And air, you get the Ascended Master Lady Nada, and the stone is... There's someone driving by with a really loud bass. The stone is rhodochrosite. Sensitivity. Your devoted heart is a willing, conscious, clear channel for spiritual grace and love. Your growing sensitivity empowers you to experience loving presence of the divine and to become a living light with tremendous compassion. Your sensitivity increases in perfect harmony with your ability to process subtle energies and generate a protective field of spiritual light around you and all others. You claim space that you need to process your experiences and thrive. You trust what you sense and respond with wisdom. It is safe and wild and startling and beautiful and loving to be the sensitive soul with a higher awareness. Air, couples and singles, you radiate love right now. There's the strong energy that's coming forward is the compassion of the heart. Whether you're seeing your heart chakra as pink or green, or if it's elevated to a different color, those are all valid colors, so just be aware of that. Whatever's coming up, you radiate this. Like your heart chakra, you've been working with this energy is what I'm hearing, and that's unlocked this next level for you, where there for a while you weren't sure if your heart was open, you weren't sure if you were feeling anything. Source is saying you've done so much work that your heart now is radiating this higher compassionate level. So it's vibrantly pink, it's radiating green, it's spinning very healthy right now. And that's great. If you're in a relationship, that also means that you and your partner have bonded that way. If you happen to be single, you're radiating in such a way that you've become magnetic, and you're allowing only the people who are aligned with you in a romantic sense to enter this sphere that you've built around yourself. Your love oracle is number 17. Have patience. Love is patience and kind always. This is such a deep thing. When you really think about it, if you're single, you're like, come on, I've been doing the inner work, I've been doing all this stuff. It's okay. Love will show up when it's meant to. You might have been doing all the conscious work, which is great, but your soul is like, okay, you're ready, your partner's not, so give it a second. And that's where that have patience is coming in. And if you're in a relationship, if something is going squirrely, if something's a hiccup, take a breath and figure out what the reason is. Is that person having a rough time at work and they're just not telling you? Is there something going on at home, like the kids are being really loud, but they don't want to burden you with it? Have patience. Be kind. Be open to the communication. And really, you have that heart connection anyway, air singles and couples. You are bonding this direction. So this have patience is actually the next step. Don't let things from the outside world cause chaos within the relationship. It's just not worth it. And air, with that deep connection through the heart, this is really calling you to step into that love of the divine, step into that embrace. You think that God's source doesn't get frustrated with us sometimes? He does. She does, depending on who you worship. Um, but you notice that they let us make our decisions. They work with us. They let us recover our minds sometimes when we go a little bonkers. That's what you're being asked to provide for your partner. Let them have their time, and then be patient and kind. Listen to them. Communication goes both ways, so it's not just a one-way street. And then work together to find the solution. And if you're single, having that patience when you look forward in time, if you happen to be single today on the 14th of February, that's okay. Have patience. Source knows what's going on, and sometimes we just need a little bit longer for us, or it could be we're ready and our partner just needs the time. So let things play out the way they are, but you can always work with source and be like, what do I need to do next? So what's to be grateful for air? We have number 31 with evolve. Everything changes, everything grows, everything shifts. You've evolved great deal, air. You've grown in a relationship, you've bonded tightly. If you're single, you have grown in spirit so that you're ready for this next step of your relationship. The evolution that's going forward is, if you're single, you're going to have to evolve to work within the new relationship paradigm. If you're in a relationship, this could mean that there's a new surprise on the way. There could be some retirement happening. Something is changing, and it's going to force an evolution for you. But the beauty of this energy is, because if you look at it, it's kind of like the magician of the tarot. You have the tools to go through this. You also are embracing this. So what's coming up here for a gratitude is, be grateful for the changes. Be grateful for the new things. Be grateful for the excitement that comes with it. Because things may happen in such a way you didn't expect it, but it's exactly what you needed. So really step into and embrace that evolution of life. You've already done it before air, because you've got to where you are now. You've changed, and you've loved the journey. You mean you can tell me that you didn't? Oh, I didn't want the car crash. Yeah, but you got the new car that you were wanting, didn't you? And your insurance paid for it. So, I mean, it's things like that where you start to look at it, and you're like, okay, so that actually did work the best way. I almost threw the entire deck of cards on the floor. So you've got different ways to look at this gratitude and the evolution of your life. It's just going to keep getting better. Might be some challenges along the way, but it's through challenge, it's through contrast that we're able to see the next best thing. And that's how we become different. That's how we make different choices. That's how we make the next steps and manifest into that higher and higher state. So have fun with that, air. Let's hop over to water, and we'll wrap this up. We have Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And okay, water, this is serendipitous, you could say. The angel is Bath Coal, and your stone is aquamarine, which happens to be Pisces birthstone, but also applies to all of the waters. So this is your authentic voice. Water, your authentic voice awakens truth, clarity, and courage within yourself and others. Your voice supports the opening of your soul's path. You trust the truth expressed with love, bringing spiritual benefit to all beings. The authentic message from your soul, shared with generosity and grace, are recognized and received. Your soul wisdom knows how to express what it needs to be shared effectively and for the highest good. You accept and express the uniqueness of your authentic voice and tune into what resonates deeply for you. You choose to live the truth of your soul. My recommendation, find some aquamarine. And you can find, like, this is not a truly clear piece because it's fractured in something, but this is aquamarine. It's a little green chunk that I have right next to my desk. That's why I showed that. But water, what this is really bringing forward is you don't have to put on the illusion of something different. You want to have a true relationship if you're single, be your authentic self. Allow the truth of who you are to step forward. And trust me, you're going to be surprised when people are like, oh, that's the real you. Sweet. Because they see the illusion and they know it's fake. Not everyone can pick it up. Air will pick it up faster than anyone else will, water. But when they see an illusion and they see that you can split between the two different sides of you, and all water signs can do this, so it's not just the Pisces people, When they see that split, they're like, no, wait a minute, which one's the real you? What I'm hearing is, water, be your authentic self. Be as true as you can. If you have a job where you have to put on the mask for, social situations, that's different. But when you're with somebody you're interested in, like if you're starting to date, be real with that person. That way they know who you are. You don't have to give them your entire life story. No, don't do that right off the bat. But be real with them. And if you're in a relationship, this is that reminder, don't hide things. And now it's one thing to hide Christmas presents and stuff like that. But be open, be honest, be truthful with each other. Aquamarine is a spiritual stone. It is a call to deepening of relationships, of soul missions. You also are getting this energy of connecting at that deeper level. It's not just about the physical stuff. It's not just about the mental stuff. Those are great. Don't get me wrong. But water, bond with your partner at the soul level. So you really, when you think of something, your partner picks it up immediately. Like you are in tune with each other, which is a beautiful way to be. Your message from the Love Oracle is turn on your heart light. Reflect on a time when you experienced love. If you're single, this might be a little bit hard at the moment because if it's a breakup you're coming off of, then you're going to really have to look back to those times when you were happy with relationships. If you've never had a relationship, then it's what have you seen in movies or books? Not those movies or books. The lovey stuck kind, where you see people just sitting on a beach holding hands, or you see them sitting on their porch sipping their coffee. There's a couple of authors, they don't write, I don't think they write anymore, that I read back in the day, that they would always write these emotional connections between the protagonists, where by the end of the book, you're almost in tears because you wanted that relationship. And that's what's coming up here, is turning on your heart light. Get into the mindset of how can you be the best person in this relationship. And if you're offering the best to your partner, they're offering the best to you, your relationship will just keep getting better and better. And that relationship is going to be the reflection of God's source in this world, and that will inspire others to do the same. So water, you have a little bit of I almost hear the word burden, and it's not negative burden. It's more like you're the ones who are going to show everyone else how to do this. You're going to be the ones that show everyone the right way to be in a relationship. And if you're single, look to the people who have water in their lives and connect into that frequency and watch how they respond to each other. Pick the traits that you really want in yourself, but also what you're looking for in a partner. And don't do superficial. I mean, you can request that, but stay focused on caring, compassion, understanding who I am, allowing me to understand them, keeping open communication, things like that. The traits, the physicality, you can work around that. Those things will fit into place, but really stay clear on the big stuff that you're looking into. Your gratitude energy here is number 40. Confide. Be grateful for the fact, couples, that you have someone to confide in. You have that intimate partner. If you're single, be grateful for the person, your best friend, that you can confide in. That person you can tell your secrets to. Oh my goodness, I have this crush on this person. Things like that. Because those are the energies that can really help support you in the big things. This is a way for you to step into the next version of yourself. For singles, for couples, this is how you build the strong relationship. And honestly, couples, you have this authentic bonding that's going on here. Be open, be honest with each other, no secrets, no hiding within the relationship. And with that energy for the singles, when you tap into that type of energy, you open the door for God's source to be like, you want authentic, you want truthful, here you go. So with that, I will let you guys and gals go. Have an amazing Valentine's Day. Make sure you're doing things with your partner, paying attention to them. And if you're single, you know what? One of these days you'll find the right person. Right now, enjoy the dinner date on your own. Watch Lady and the Tramp, have some spaghetti. Really embrace that love aspect. And with that, I will let you guys go. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.